Hi, we're back. I'm Kevin Shepard
And I'm Maxie Long.
with Shepard and Long. And so today we're talking about part 2 of the factors that judges look at when deciding custody cases. Because if you're going to go to court, whether it's a divorce or a custody modification case, you need to know what the judge is thinking and what he or she is looking for when she's going to make that parenting plan. So today, one of the factors I want us to look at is the court will look at the child's relationship with the step siblings, other people that are in the house, step parents, other relatives. That's important. And as well as the child's involvement in school and community and church activities. Now that doesn't mean that a parent has to take a child to church during their parenting time, but the court is going to look at what are the activities that the child's involved in, and that's important, and what relationships are important to that child. Sometimes in a blended family, it may be that the stepmother has 2 children of her own that are in this new family, and dad's child develops a close relationship with these step siblings. That's important. Court's going to want to do a custody plan that's going to help maximize these relationships and encourage relationships. Another highly contested issue, believe it or not, is sports for kids. So many times, especially when there's some distance between parents, courts will look at the fact that mom has a kid in traveling baseball all summer long in 3 sports during the school year, and it interferes with dad's time to be with the children. The court's going to look at that. Now, sports, cheerleading, football, things like that don't take priority over a child's relationship with a parent. But those activities are still important, so it's a balancing act that a court's going to look at. Another thing that judges will look at is the continuity in a child's life and the importance of promoting stability. Now, sometimes parents move away after a divorce. One parent may, let's say, move away from Maryville and move to Chattanooga. Well, that's going to create some hardship in fashioning a parenting plan. But a court is going to look at, well, the child's been in this school system for years and years. If I give the other parent primary custody, it's going to disrupt them and uproot them from all those friendships. Now, that doesn't mean that the parent who moves away doesn't win. It's just a factor that a judge is going to look at in deciding custody. So keep in mind that it is important to support your children in their activities. But at the same time, don't overschedule them and try to put your kids in activities just to keep them away from the other parent. Not a good idea. Another factor to consider is abuse. Has either parent abused that child? And not just that child, but what about the parents' relationship with each other?
So how does domestic violence between the parents factor in?
You know, sometimes people don't realize it, but if one parent is verbally, emotionally, or physically abusive to the other parent, the court's going to look at that. And you might say, well, they're bad together as husband and wife, but that doesn't mean he's a bad parent or that she's a bad parent. Well, the judge is going to look at it, and the judge is going to decide if that affects the child. You know, Maxie, you and I have had cases, contested cases where parents get into a fight and the children witness it. It doesn't really matter who started that fight. If you have a crying 5-year-old standing in the corner watching mommy and daddy slug it out, it's not good. But if one parent is more the aggressor and the other is more the victim, the court's going to look at that. And so domestic violence really can play a major role in this. And if one parent is an abuser, their time with the child is going to be limited. And maybe even supervised until that issue can be addressed. Another thing to look at is the character of people who come into the home, not just who live there, but friends and others who come into the home.
Why is it important to be mindful of the character of friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, others that may be around the child?
You know, we hear that a lot, Maxie, where sometimes parents will call us and let's say mom says, you know, my husband, we've been separated for 6 months and he's having his terrible girlfriend come around our kids. Courts are going to look at that. Courts are going to look at the example a parent is giving to the child. And one thing that unfortunately we see a lot of is sometimes our friends might be someone who uses drugs. And I'm talking about even something such as marijuana. If there's a frequent visitor in your home who is known for using drugs, even if it's not in the household itself, but they're very drug friendly, that can be used against you in a custody case. Or if someone who's a friend comes over to your home and they're on probation for aggravated assault, the judge can look at that. Even though they don't live there, but if they're coming over to the house when that child's there, there's some issues that need to be looked at. And so everything about your life becomes relevant, including even the friends who come in the door. So for our next video, we'll try to round out the other factors that judges look at when deciding custody cases.